Hey, so you know how we've been talking about finding more joy in like everyday life?
Hmm.
Well, I was doing some reading and I found this whole concept called happy journaling.
Happy journaling.
Yeah, happy journaling. And I thought it would be something kind of fun to dive into.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always down for like simple practices that can make a big difference.
Right. And this one is all about using journal prompts, but like not your typical like what did I do today kind of prompts. These are more like I don't know, almost like happiness hacks, like designed to rewire your brain for more joy.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. Tell me more about these happiness hacks.
So basically, I found this blog post by this woman, Claire Penrose, and she lays out all these different prompts, and they're like categorized by theme, you know? So there's like memories and moments, and then you've got like people and relationships and achievements and goals. I don't know. It's just interesting how she breaks it down.
So it's all about reflecting on the good stuff, but with a purpose. I like
Exactly. And she dives into all sorts of things like gratitude, appreciation, which I know we always talk about.
that.
But before we get into like the nitty gritty of it all, I'm curious from your perspective, like, what's the science behind this? What's actually happening in our brains when we do this kind of journaling?
Well, you can almost imagine your brain like a vast network of paths, right?
Hmm.
Every time you have a thought or an experience, you're essentially walking down one of these paths. And the more you walk it, the more defined it becomes. So with happy journaling, you're kind of like paving those happy paths.
So we're strengthening those connections in our brain.
Exactly. It's called neuroplasticity, which is basically your brain's ability to change based on your experiences. So by consistently focusing on positive memories, relationships, achievements, you're strengthening those neural pathways. You're building mental muscle memory for happiness.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. I can already see how this could be a game changer, especially because I know for me, I can get stuck in those like negative thought loops sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's so fascinating about our brains. Like we often have this negativity bias.
Hmm.
We're just wired to be more sensitive to threats, to danger. It's a survival mechanism, really.
So we're basically fighting against our own brains when we try to focus on the positive.
In a way, yeah. But by consciously choosing to focus on positive experiences through practices like happy journaling, we can train our brains to overcome that negativity bias.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how does she suggest we actually use these prompts? Like, can we dive into some specific examples, see how they work?
Sure. Let's start with memories and moments. One of her prompts asks, "What is your happiest memory from the past year?" It sounds simple, but it can be incredibly powerful.
You know me, always up for a good walk down memory lane. But I've never really thought about it as like a way to boost happiness.
Yeah, and that's where that reflection part really comes into play, right?
Yeah.
When you take the time to actually recall a happy memory, like really dive back into it, you're not just remembering it, you're reactivating those neural pathways, those feelings, everything.
Oh, okay. So it's like giving your brain a workout, but with good vibes only.
Exactly. And those positive emotions, they have like a ripple effect. They can influence your thoughts, your behavior, even your physical well-being.
Hmm.
I mean, there was this fascinating research done by Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin. His studies actually show that even just a few minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes, of mindful reflection on positive experiences can lead to an increase in feelings of happiness and well-being that can last for hours, sometimes even days.
Wow. No kidding. Okay, I am sold on the whole happy memories thing. What about the prompts that focus on other people? Those really stuck out to me too.
Right. The people in relationships prompts, well, those are all about tapping into the importance of social connection, which, like we all know, is a huge part of living a happy life.
There's that one prompt, I think you mentioned it before, that asks you to describe a time that you helped someone and it made you feel good. Like, what's the science behind why that makes us feel good?
Well, for one, it triggers the release of endorphins, those feel-good chemicals in your brain. You know, the ones that boost your mood and can even help reduce pain. Plus, when we shift our focus to helping others, it can take our minds off of our own problems for a bit. It helps us get a little perspective.
Yeah, it's funny how helping someone else can actually make you feel better equipped to deal with your own stuff.
Oh, it's so true. Even those small acts of kindness, they can create a ripple effect, you know?
Mm.
It's like that pay it forward concept in action.
Love that. Okay, so we've talked about memories, we've talked about relationships. This is making me rethink my whole approach to journaling. But what about the whole achievements and goals category? I have to admit, I was a little, I don't know, skeptical of that one.
I get it. It might seem kind of counterintuitive at first, like how could reflecting on what you've achieved boost your happiness? But I think the key here is really focusing on the why. behind your goals.
Yeah.
Like, why are these things important to you? How do they connect with your values? You know?
So it's less about checking things off a to-do list and more about making sure your actions are lining up with your values.
Exactly. She even has this one prompt that asks, describe a goal you're working towards and how it reflects something you deeply care about. Just taking the time to really think about that can be so motivating.
It's like tapping into your own personal drive, that fire that comes from within.
Yes, it's that intrinsic motivation.
Mhm.
And when you're driven by that, the whole journey, even with its challenges, becomes way more enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. It's about the journey, not just the destination, right?
100%. And, Clara even has prompts that are all about celebrating your successes, even the small ones.
Uh-huh.
We're often so good at focusing on what we haven't done yet.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm the queen of moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
Always on to the next thing.
Right. But taking the time to really celebrate those wins can totally shift your mindset, create a more positive feedback loop. It reinforces that sense of, hey, I can do this.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered happy memories, relationships, achieving our goals. But there's one more piece to this whole happiness puzzle, right? And it's something I know you're passionate about.
Gratitude.
Yes. And of course, Clara has a whole section in her happy journaling guide about it. But before we get into her specific prompts, I'm curious. From your perspective, why is gratitude so powerful?
Well, it's really about shifting your focus. Instead of focusing on what you lack, it's about appreciating what you have.
It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, right? Like, oh, they have that, but I don't. It's such a trap.
Totally. But gratitude flips the script. It helps you really appreciate all the good stuff, both big and small, that you might normally just take for granted.
I love that. It's like that saying, you can't be happy if you're always searching for something else.
Yes, and the best part, gratitude isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It can help you create a more positive outlook on life in general. And that influences everything, your actions, your relationships, even your health.
Okay, I'm convinced. What kind of gratitude prompts does Clara suggest?
She has a ton, but the ones that I find most effective encourage you to be really specific. So instead of just writing, I'm grateful for my family, which is great, don't get me wrong, but she wants you to dive deeper. Like, why are you grateful for your family? What qualities do you appreciate most about them? How do they make your life richer?
I love that. It's so easy to just go through the motions and not really think about those things.
Totally. And it doesn't have to be just about people. You can use it for anything, really.
Yeah.
Like a beautiful sunset, a delicious meal, you name it, anything that brings you even a little spark of joy.
Okay, I think I'm really starting to get a sense of how all these different categories work together.
Oh.
It's not just about randomly writing down your thoughts. It's about making a conscious choice to focus on the positive and build those pathways in your brain that lead to more happiness.
That's it. And I think that's where the real magic of happy journaling lies. It's not about forcing yourself to feel happy. It's about cultivating a mindset that naturally leans towards joy, towards gratitude, towards really appreciating all the good stuff life has to offer.
So what about you? Do you think this is something you could try? I'm definitely feeling inspired.
Oh, absolutely. I love that we've had this conversation, honestly. It's such a good reminder that happiness isn't something that just happens to us. We have the power to create it.
Couldn't agree more. So until next time, go out there and find the joy in the everyday, right?
Yes.
And hey, maybe even grab a journal and pen while you're at it.